Hey, Dr. Patel.
Dr. Mora, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm excited to talk about die off with you. This is something we were both just chatting about how many of our patients are dealing with this right now. And historically we've seen this for years and years and years, thought we would chat about it. So tell me, well, let's talk about what is die off?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, die off. But when we see patients of chronic infections, especially in the GI tract, in blood alike, but GI especially, and we start
Yeah.
treating things, there is some level of die off that happens of you're killing stuff, even with like regular antibiotics, you're killing stuff and it shouldn't last, but people just don't feel good. So you can have chills or fatigue or headaches or localized GI symptoms
Mm-hmm.
worsen before they get better. But it's totally individualized is what I've learned is like these die off reactions are super variable by patient.
Right. Absolutely. And die off, also known as the Herxheimer reaction, right? It's
Correct.
actually kind of a good thing, meaning that when we're starting to treat something, it's mobilizing, it's leaving the system, but in doing so, it creates these kind of metabolites, what we call endotoxins, right, which can make you feel worse. So we like to see it, but we don't like it to be super disruptive of your life. So symptom wise, what do you see typically with die off?
So generally with the GI symptoms, I'll think about bloating, cramping, sometimes even more of a motility issue, whether it's constipation or loose stool.
Right.
But the issue there is if somebody's not going every day, like we always talk about,
Yeah,
then they're just going to worsen and patients aren't going to feel good. And so I
exactly.
want to make sure motility's on point
Yeah.
before somebody with any infection. Uh,
Yep.
Liver function overall is working because sometimes the liver can feel burdened and you'll have
Right.
reactions to that in terms of again fatigue and brain fog and headaches and things like that.
Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
patient's gut is permeable and leaky, then some of these endotoxins go through and become systemic and you just
Yeah.
have symptoms of inflammation again and joint pain even and
Yeah.
muscle stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it could be
Headaches,
local.
rashes, yeah,
Mhm.
fever. I mean, we've seen, yeah, we've seen it all, right? So,
It's really it's one of those things where only time will tell.
right,
And oftentimes I'll guide patients of like, hey, let's back down on the dosing of some of the stuff we're doing to kind of
right.
make sure we're not too
Yeah.
aggressive with stuff. Um, or to see if that's even causing it. So it's really again individualized by
Right.
patient.
Yeah. We can never predict, that's a question, we get a lot is, am I going to have die off? We have
Mhm.
no way to predict that because it really depends on your body's reaction. And so that goes to my next question, like, how do you prevent it? Really, it's like go slow, right? We go slow. What else? I mean, you talked a little bit about liver, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to make sure detox pathways are working. Oftentimes we'll do some testing for detox pathways like methylation or hormone detox or just
Mhm.
general state of can you clear out certain things, even
Yeah.
alcohol, for example. If one can't
Right.
metabolize caffeine or alcohol that properly, we know something's up with the liver in terms of
Yep.
clearing things. And so there's things we do first. We might even want to go low and slow and support the liver specifically first and
Yeah.
GI motility,
Right.
and doing some of these antimicrobials after
Yep.
that, binders for environmental toxins, right?
Yeah.
And then lifestyle things, of course, hydration and electrolytes, sauna, exercise,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
just all the fun stuff we always talk about.
Yeah. So if we do see, die off come up, there are things we can do, right? Like detox, slow down,
And
water,
sometimes we'll throw a binder in too. Like,
throw a binder in. Exactly. What are your
so
favorite binders?
good question. I like charcoal a lot. Charcoal is a good one in addition to even like a fiber, but sometimes
Yeah.
with SIBA, we want to be careful with fiber, of course. But if it's more
Right.
of an environmental binder, I'll do psyllium husk or,
Yeah.
seed, things like that.
Yep.
Humic and fulvic acid is another good binder that
Yeah.
we,
It's one of my go-tos. Yeah.
but yeah, there's a whole lot of things opening up in the binder world now. So we gotta stay on top of it.
Yeah, there's so many tools at our disposal. That's what we always say, right? And it just goes back to the beginning. Like die off is not a bad thing necessarily. It just means like we have to kind of see what your body's telling us, right? And move through it. And it shouldn't last that long, right? I mean, how long do you find it typically lasts?
Yeah. Generally, it can vary from a few days to a couple weeks, but
Hmm.
again, it depends on the severity of the die off
Yeah,
and how body's handling it.
right.
But personally, I don't like patients to experience it longer than a week, honestly, or less.
Same, yeah.
So I want to try
Right.
to doing good, but we want to make sure we're not um, doing anything too intense. So it's
Right.
a
Or disrupting people's lives. I mean, this work can take time and you don't want to like put your life on pause. You need to be able to function. So I always say like reach out if this is becoming disruptive and we'll go to plan B as it were.
exactly.
So cool. This is a great discussion. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's talk about it more in the future again.
Yeah, we always will be.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right.
Welcome.